Chosen one, listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you is not ordinary. Something in your life is reaching its final breath. A chapter that has been heavy, painful, suffocating, or endlessly confusing, it ends tomorrow. Not because of fate, not because of coincidence, but because Allah has looked at everything you endured, everything you held inside, and everything you continued to do with sincerity even when no one saw you. This ending is not coming to destroy you, it's coming to free you. Allah is shifting the ground beneath your feet, removing what cannot follow you into the next level, and sealing a chapter that has already served its purpose. You may not understand it yet, but when Allah ends something this suddenly, it means the breakthrough you prayed for is now demanding space. Chosen one, your tomorrow is not a threat. It is the doorway to the life that was always written for you. Brace yourself, because everything changes from here. Chosen one, understand this with every beat of your heart. The reason everything in your life is coming to an end tomorrow is because your patience, that quiet, hidden, uncelebrated patience, has finally reached the divine threshold. Allah set for your breakthrough, and once a believer reaches that point, nothing in the universe can keep them in the same chapter any longer. Not the people who underestimated you, not the situations that suffocated you, not the delays that tested you, not the heartbreaks that shaped you. Allah watched you hold yourself together on nights that tried to break you. He saw the tears you wiped before anyone else noticed. He counted the moments you wanted to give up but didn't. He heard the prayers you whispered when your heart was trembling, and He recorded every second you stayed gentle even when life was harsh to you, every moment you stayed grateful even when you had little, and every time you trusted Him even when you couldn't see a way out. And when a chosen servant consistently chooses sabr over bitterness, tawakkul over panic, salah over despair, and purity over revenge, the heavens move, destiny shifts, and divine intervention is triggered. Your patience has now crossed that sacred, invisible line where Allah says, "Enough. My servant has endured for my sake, and now I will open for them what no eye has seen and no mind has imagined." And that is why the chapter ends tomorrow, not as a collapse but as a divine graduation, because you have spiritually outgrown every struggle that tried to hold you hostage, and now Allah is preparing to replace what drained you with what will elevate you, what broke you with what will heal you, what hurt you with what will honor you. Your patience has finally spoken, and the heavens have finally answered. Chosen one of the greatest mercies Allah grants to His chosen servants is the silent removal of anything that slowly drains the soul. And the reason everything comes to an end tomorrow is because Allah has finally decided that you have carried enough, endured enough, and tolerated enough of what was never meant to survive in your destiny. He watched you remain loyal to people who were careless with your heart. He saw how you poured into places that never poured back. He witnessed how you tried to fix situations that were spiritually destroying you. And He observed the weight you carried while pretending you were fine, even though your spirit was exhausted, your mind was overwhelmed, and your heart was fighting battles no one knew about. And because Allah is Al-Latif, the one who intervenes with subtlety and compassion, He began detaching you from the very things you once begged Him to keep, not to punish you but to protect you, because He knew that if He didn't end it for you, you would keep trying to survive in an environment that was suffocating your growth, draining your energy, twisting your identity, and dimming the light He placed within you. So when relationships fall apart without warning, when certain doors close abruptly, when people distance themselves, when opportunities disappear, when conversations dry up, when your heart no longer feels connected, it is not rejection, it is not loss, it is not failure. It is Allah pulling you away from what your soul was never built to carry long-term, the unseen toxins, the hidden envy, the emotional manipulation, the spiritual heaviness that was slowly disconnecting you from your purpose. And tomorrow marks the moment Allah declares, enough. The moment He ends every attachment, every tie, every burden that was quietly draining you from the inside out, because a soul that is meant to rise cannot stay trapped in a space designed to break it, and a chosen one cannot elevate while clinging to what Allah is trying to remove. This ending is your rescue, this separation is your healing, and this divine shift is Allah restoring your strength, your clarity, your peace, and the spiritual radiance that was fading under the weight of the wrong people, the wrong places, and the wrong situations. What ends tomorrow is not your life, but the slow erosion of your soul. And what begins is the return of the person Allah always intended you to become. Chosen one. The reason everything in your life is shifting, closing, and realigning tomorrow is because your silent good deeds, the ones you performed when no one was watching, when your heart was trembling, when you expected nothing in return, have finally risen to the heavens and reached the divine level where Allah decrees, "My servant has given enough, now I will return to them far more than what they offered." And this is the moment every believer waits for. The unseen moment when quiet acts of goodness accumulate day after day until they become a mountain of light that ascends straight to the throne of the Most Merciful. Understand that every sadaqah you gave secretly, every prayer you made for someone who never thanked you, every time you forgave someone who didn't apologize, every tear you wiped from your own eyes before anyone noticed, every moment you chose compassion when you had every reason to retaliate, every time you hid someone's faults instead of exposing them, and every moment you helped someone while you yourself were breaking. All of it was witnessed by Allah. All of it was recorded. All of it was multiplied, and none of it ever went unnoticed, even if the world acted like it never existed. People may have forgotten your kindness. They may have used it, ignored it, or even mocked it. But Allah never forgets, and when He accepts the good deeds of His chosen servant, the entire universe must shift to accommodate the reward that is coming, because Allah does not return goodness the way humans do. He returns it in waves, in miracles, in unexpected openings, in emotional healing, in spiritual elevation, in justice that arrives without warning, and in blessings that come from directions you never imagined. Tomorrow is not random. Tomorrow is the arrival of a divine response that has been building quietly for years, because your good deeds have now reached the point where Allah transforms them into protection, into ease, into answered prayers, into new opportunities, into the removal of harmful people, and into the elevation that only comes when a believer continues to do good even when their heart is tired. Your silent kindness became your shield, your patience became your weapon, your sincerity became your currency in the unseen world. And now the heavens themselves have testified on your behalf. And when the heavens testify, endings happen, doors close, illusions fall apart, and the next chapter begins whether you feel ready or not. The ending you are about to witness is the result of years of hidden goodness, years of choosing Allah over your ego, years of choosing compassion over revenge, years of choosing faith over fear, and now the divine cycle has turned in your favor. Because when Allah finally decides to return what His servant has given for His sake, the return does not come gently, it comes powerfully, abruptly, undeniably, in a way that announces that your time of planting is over and your time of harvesting has begun. Tomorrow is not an ending for you, chosen one. Tomorrow is the day your goodness comes back multiplied. Chosen one. Tomorrow marks the moment when the people who wronged you finally reach the limit Allah set for them, because no oppression lasts forever, and no cruelty escapes the divine sight of the one who never forgets the tears of His servant. Understand this with clarity. Allah gave them time not because He supported their actions, but because He was giving you room to grow, time to separate, time to heal, time to elevate spiritually, so that when justice arrived, it would not shake you but strengthen you, because Allah does not punish your enemies when you are still emotionally tied to them. He waits until your heart is detached enough to receive His justice with wisdom and peace. He saw how they manipulated your sincerity, how they took advantage of your kindness, how they twisted your words, how they played with your loyalty, how they laughed when you cried, how they pretended innocence while causing the very wounds that kept you awake at night, and He recorded every moment they belittled you, every time they humiliated you, every time they dismissed your pain, and every time they spoke about you in rooms you weren't invited into. None of it was ignored, none of it was lost. None of it slipped past the one who is Al-Basir, the all-seeing, and Al-Hakim, the all-wise. And because you chose patience instead of revenge, because you chose silence instead of cruelty, because you handed the matter to Allah instead of fighting a war you didn't deserve to fight, the heavens have now declared, enough, this servant has been wronged long enough. And when Allah Himself says, enough, destinies rearrange themselves, barriers crumble, faces are exposed, secrets come to light, and the people who thought they could play with your heart without consequence find themselves standing before a divine justice system that cannot be bribed, avoided, or negotiated. Tomorrow is not the day your life ends. It is the day their excuses end, the day their arrogance ends, the day their illusion of control ends, the day their ability to harm you ends, because Allah has allowed them to run as far as His wisdom permitted. And now the rope tightens, the veil lifts, and the consequences they avoided for so long finally arrive with precision, not because you asked for vengeance, but because you asked for peace, and Allah gives peace by removing the hands that disturbed your soul. Some of them will be removed from your life completely, some will lose access to you forever, some will come to regret the way they treated you, some will watch you elevate while they remain stuck, some will face the collapse of the very illusions they used to hurt you, and some will finally realize that you weren't weak, you were protected, and they weren't strong. They were allowed to test you, only for a period that has now expired. Understand deeply that Allah never lets people walk away untouched when they harm a chosen servant, but He also never acts out of pettiness. He acts out of justice, out of wisdom, out of mercy for you and even for them, because sometimes the hardship they will now face is what will guide them back to humility and repentance. Tomorrow, they reach their limit not because you demanded it, but because Allah decided you have suffered enough, learned enough, grown enough, and risen enough to no longer be affected by their actions. This ending is not about revenge. It is about liberation. It is about closure. It is about Allah removing you from a battlefield you never asked to enter and positioning you in a future where peace replaces chaos, clarity replaces confusion, and sincerity replaces betrayal. What ends tomorrow is the authority they once had over your emotions, your heart, your mind, and your peace. And what begins is a life where only Allah has power over you. Chosen one, understand this with the full weight of your spirit. The isolation you've been living in, the loneliness you couldn't explain, the distance that grew between you and the world, none of it was random, none of it was punishment, and none of it was because you were unworthy of connection. It was Allah placing you in a divine cocoon, separating you from noise, distractions, harmful energies, and people who were never meant to walk into the next chapter of your destiny. And tomorrow marks the moment that cocoon opens, because your isolation has fulfilled its purpose, and Allah is now beginning your rise. He pulled you away so He could cleanse your heart, sharpen your mind, expand your soul, and rebuild you into someone who no longer depends on the approval of others, someone who finds strength in solitude, someone who stands firm in faith, and someone whose relationship with Allah became the anchor that nothing in this world could shake. The people who left you, the ones who drifted, the ones who turned cold, and the ones who could no longer reach you, they were removed because Allah did not want their shadows contaminating the light you were being prepared to carry, and the silence you endured, the long nights where you felt unseen, the days where you felt forgotten, and the hours where your heart questioned, "Why am I alone?" were actually moments where Allah was stitching your destiny in ways your mind could not comprehend. Your isolation was a spiritual surgery, and divine surgery always happens away from the crowd, because the transformation Allah performs on His chosen servants is too sacred to be witnessed by ungrateful eyes. But now that the healing is complete, now that you've been purified from attachments that would have dragged you down, now that your spirit has been recalibrated to its true purpose, Allah is ending the isolation that once felt endless, because isolation is never permanent. For those chosen by Him, it is a phase, a preparation, a cleansing, and once the heart is ready, Allah reopens the doors of the world with precision and timing that leaves you speechless. Tomorrow those doors begin to open. Opportunities you thought were gone will reappear. Connections that align with your soul will find you effortlessly. Supportive people will enter your life without you searching for them, and environments that once felt blocked will suddenly welcome you. Because when Allah decides to bring a chosen servant out of isolation, He does not release them quietly. He releases them into purpose, into clarity, into recognition, into honor, into spiritual elevation, and into a level of influence that others will not be able to deny. The rise you are about to experience is not man-made, it's not self-manufactured, and it's not something anyone can take credit for. It is a rise written by Al-Alim, designed by Al-Hakim, protected by Al-Muhaymin, and supported by Al-Fatah, the opener of doors no human can close. And this rise does not begin with applause. It begins with alignment. It begins with peace. It begins with strength. It begins with new people entering your life who see your worth without being told. It begins with a shift in your heart where you finally feel alive again, and it begins with a divine push that tells you, "Your time of hiding is over now. Show the world who I made you to be." Chosen one, your isolation was never the end. It was the preparation for a rise so profound that those who once overlooked you will wonder how they failed to see the greatness Allah was building in silence. And tomorrow marks the moment that greatness steps forward. Chosen one, the truth you are only now beginning to grasp is that you have been walking through one of the hardest, most spiritually intense tests Allah gives to any servant, a test so subtle and so long that you didn't even recognize it as a test until it was already over. And this is why everything ends tomorrow. Because the exam is complete, your results have reached the heavens, and Allah has decreed that the season of testing has fulfilled its purpose. But to understand the depth of what you passed, you must look back at what you survived. Every betrayal was a question, every heartbreak was a question, every moment of loneliness was a question, every time you were misunderstood was a question, and every moment you stayed silent while being wronged was another question, and without realizing it, you kept answering them correctly with patience, integrity, humility, and faith, even when your heart was trembling and your soul felt like it was on the brink of collapse. The test wasn't written on paper, it was written in the events that shaped your life, the delays that drained you, the people who hurt you, the losses that broke you, and the nights you cried when no one knew. This was the exam of the unseen, the one only the most resilient souls are given, because Allah wanted to see not what you do when life is easy, but who you become when life tries to crush you. He wanted to know, would you still choose to be gentle when people were harsh with you? Would you still choose to forgive when you were given every reason to hate? Would you still choose to rise with dignity when others tried to drag your name into dirt? Would you still protect the hearts of people who did not protect yours? Would you still choose Him when everything around you pushed you to doubt? Would you still show mercy when you desperately needed mercy yourself? And above all, would you still remain sincere when sincerity brought you nothing but pain? These were the questions, the hidden ones, the ones that can only be answered through character, not words. And somehow, chosen one, even in moments when you thought you were failing, even in moments where your soul was exhausted, even in moments where you felt numb, even in moments where you questioned your own strength, you still behaved with righteousness, you still clung to Allah, you still tried to do good, and that is what passing the test means: persevering when no one sees, loving when you are unloved, staying kind when you receive cruelty, choosing restraint when your ego screams for revenge, and turning toward Allah when the world feels like it is turning against you. But the exam went deeper than actions. It reached the very core of your heart. Allah was testing whether your heart would become hardened or whether it would soften even more. He tested whether your spirit would collapse or evolve, whether you would become bitter or purified, whether you would allow pain to close you or push you into reliance upon Him. And the truth is, you became more pure, more sincere, more compassionate, more anchored in faith, more unseen by the world, but more seen by the heavens. And while people thought they were breaking you, they were actually shaping you into the servant Allah intended you to be. This was a test of submission, a test of loyalty to Allah's decree, a test of whether you would trust His timing even when nothing made sense, a test of whether you would keep walking even when the road was dark, and a test of whether you would continue planting seeds of goodness even when your life looked barren. And you did. You planted goodness when your heart was bleeding. You gave love when you received none. You stayed truthful when lies were spoken about you. You kept your dignity when others tried to provoke you. You fought battles silently so others wouldn't be burdened. You smiled while carrying storms in your chest. You prayed when your voice was shaking. You forgave when your heart didn't feel ready. You stayed soft in a world that tried to harden you. You passed, not because you were perfect, but because you kept choosing Allah even when choosing Him was the hardest option available. And because you passed a test this deep, this hidden, this spiritually intense, the reward is equally extraordinary. Tomorrow marks the turning of the divine page. Your suffering ends, your delays end, your cycles end, your battles end, your isolation ends, your internal war ends. Tomorrow begins elevation, clarity, justice, openings, miracles, and a rise so undeniable that even the people who doubted you will be shocked. You are now stepping into a destiny that only a tested soul can carry, into blessings tailored for someone who proved their sincerity in silence, into love designed for a heart that remained pure despite being broken, into opportunities crafted for someone who stayed loyal to Allah through seasons of pain, into peace reserved for hearts that learned patience the hard way. The test was invisible, but the reward will be visible. The test was lonely, but the reward will surround you. The test was quiet, but the reward will echo in ways that cannot be ignored. You passed a test you didn't know you were taking, chosen one, and the heavens have already celebrated your success. Tomorrow is simply when the earth catches up. Chosen one, understand this with every fiber of your being. The reason everything in your life is closing, shifting, and coming to an end tomorrow is not because of failure, not because of loss, not because you were unworthy, but because Allah is clearing the stage for the next chapter of your destiny, a chapter so profound, so aligned with your purpose, and so powerful that nothing from the old season can follow you into it. And the ending you are experiencing is not destruction. It is preparation. It is divine pruning. It is the closing of doors, the clearing of paths, the removal of distractions, the departure of people who were never meant to accompany you, and the conclusion of situations that no longer serve your growth. Because a new beginning can only occur when the space is made ready for it, when the soil is fertile, when the heart is purified, when the mind is clear, and when the soul is free to receive what Allah has written. Everything you thought was permanent, everything you clung to, everything you prayed for, everything you dreamed of, and everything you relied upon in the past was merely temporary scaffolding, teaching you patience, humility, strength, and reliance upon Allah alone. And now, the scaffolding is being removed because you are ready to rise, to step into a life that is far greater than the one you imagined, to walk into a destiny that is uniquely yours, to embrace blessings that are far beyond what anyone else could give, and to embody the version of yourself Allah intended from the beginning. Understand, chosen one, that endings are not random, endings are not punishments. Endings are not the universe's way of rejecting you. They are Allah's way of saying, the time has come, the place is cleared, the path is open, the chapter you were waiting for is ready to begin. And this ending is necessary because your new beginning demands alignment on every level. Your intentions must be pure, your heart must be uncluttered, your energy must be elevated, your spiritual vision must be clear, and your reliance on Allah must be absolute, because only then can the divine flow of guidance, opportunity, and miraculous intervention pour into your life unimpeded, without blockage from toxic attachments, unworthy people, limiting environments, or old energies that would hinder your rise. Every door that closes, every relationship that ends, every delay that frustrates you, every loss that hurts, and every hardship that drains you is actually a divine removal of what cannot fit into your new chapter. And while it may feel painful, uncomfortable, or unfair, the pain itself is a mercy, because it is the final clearing of obstacles that would have prevented your breakthrough. And the lessons embedded within each ending are the tools, the preparation, and the wisdom you will carry into your rise. Tomorrow As this ending unfolds, you will not just walk into a new season, you will step into a life where your prayers are aligned with your actions, where your efforts are met with divine multiplication, where your heart's desires are answered in ways you could not orchestrate, where your influence and energy are recognized by those who truly deserve to witness it, and where your purpose is fulfilled on levels that the world cannot understand. The people who leave, the doors that shut, the chapters that conclude, the plans that fail, and the seasons that end are all doing so because Allah is making space for what He has written specifically for you. And when the right time comes, the doors will not just reopen, they will burst open with timing, precision, and favor that cannot be replicated, because what is coming is the result of divine orchestration, not human effort, not luck, and not chance. Chosen one. Endings are never final for the one Allah has chosen. They are only the preparation for what is greater, the cleansing before the blessing, the separation before the union, the silence before the announcement, and the night before the dawn. And tomorrow's ending is your signal, your divine cue, that you are ready to step into a new beginning where your faith, your patience, your perseverance, your character, and your trust in Allah will meet the exact destiny that was written for you before you were even born, because Allah closes no door without opening another that is far superior, and when He does, the soul that was tested, refined, and purified will recognize it immediately and rise in ways that astonish the world, elevate the heart, expand the spirit, and glorify the Creator. And in that rise, you will understand why the ending was necessary, why the separation was essential, why the loss was merciful, why the closure was protective, and why every moment you waited, suffered, and persevered has led to this divinely appointed new beginning that will define the rest of your life, align your destiny, and establish your role in the world in ways that only Allah can design. Chosen one, hear this clearly. What you have endured, what you have prayed for, what you have silently carried, and what you have patiently waited through has never been in vain, and tomorrow is the proof of that divine truth. Every ending, every closed door, every betrayal, every moment of isolation, every hardship, and every hidden struggle was never meant to destroy you. It was preparing you, elevating you, and clearing the way for a life that aligns perfectly with the destiny Allah has written for you. You have passed tests you didn't know existed, remained patient when the world tried to break you, and acted with integrity when everyone else acted in deceit. And now, Allah Himself is rearranging your world, opening doors for blessings, for honor, for peace, and for opportunities that the eyes of others cannot comprehend. Remember this, chosen one. Endings are never the end when Allah is involved. They are signs, confirmations, and divine resets that indicate you are stepping into the life you were always meant to live. Do not fear the conclusion of a chapter. Do not resist the removal of what no longer serves you, and do not underestimate the power of what Allah is preparing for you. Your patience, your sincerity, your endurance, and your unwavering faith have not gone unnoticed, and tomorrow marks the first day of a new reality where your heart, your soul, and your life will finally match the greatness Allah has always destined for you. Stand firm, trust completely, and embrace the divine flow of endings that lead to beginnings, because the one who tests you is also the one who elevates you, protects you, and ensures that your rise will be undeniable. Chosen one, your tomorrow is not an ending. It is the beginning of everything Allah has promised you, and it is time to step fully into the life, the peace, the clarity, and the purpose He has been preparing for you all along.